2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up.
You know, one thing the political left has mastered over the years is making excuses. Whenever one of their favorites falls flat, they scramble to blame anyone and anything other than the person responsible. And now we're seeing their latest spin, the claim that Kamala Harris was set up to fail by her own party. That's the story they're trying to sell. Now let's break this down, because it's one of the most absurd narratives the left has ever pushed. This goes back to a 2014 study on Fortune 500 companies. It found that when businesses were already struggling, they were more likely to bring in female CEOs. The problem was obvious. It was a no-win setup. If the woman managed to succeed, great. But if she failed, the company could shrug and say, well, at least we gave a woman a chance, while the business was collapsing anyway. Now, some left-wing commentators are trying to apply that same idea to Kamala Harris's political career. The argument goes like this. Joe Biden was supposed to be a bridge president, just a one-term guy who'd eventually step aside for the next Democratic star. Instead, he clung to power, stumbled badly in a debate, and only then dropped out. At that point, poor Kamala was supposedly pushed into the spotlight. Except to fail, if that sounds like a stretch, it's because it is. Enter Sarah Isker, a political commentator who's been pushing this theory on TV. She claims Kamala never had a fair shot because she inherited Biden's messy team, didn't have enough time to introduce herself to voters, and was basically sabotaged. Nice try. But even Bill Maher, who is hardly a conservative firebrand, wasn't buying it. He cut right through the excuses with blunt honesty. His point? Kamala had plenty of time, a big stage, and a national platform. Voters got to know her. And guess what? They didn't like her. That's not sabotage. That's reality.
You're saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
It was too long. It was long enough.
It was long enough.
No.
If they had a primary...
Sure, it's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone they didn't like.
And Maher is right. If Democrats had held a real primary, Kamala Harris wouldn't have won. She lacked charisma, leadership, and even basic communication skills. Voters saw her up close, and they weren't impressed. Period. But instead of admitting that, the left keeps spinning excuses. She wasn't given a fair shot. The media was too harsh. The DNC didn't support her enough. Please. The truth is simple. She failed because she was a weak candidate.
If they had had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had,
That's
she would have been able to rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team. And so I wonder if that next Democratic person, maybe someone's not even on our radar yet. Because frankly, when you look at the history of who's there's two types. The one who waited in line, who was next in line, and then there's the one who comes out. That's Obama. That's Clinton. That's Reagan to some extent.
And let's not forget, Harris had a track record of blunders long before she was anywhere near the presidency. Go back to 2016. While America was dealing with a very real threat of radical Islamic terrorism, Kamala Harris wasn't focused on protecting the country. Instead, she scolded Americans not to use the term radical Islamic terrorism because, she argued, it ignored the fact that many Muslims are also victims of terrorism. Now, yes, that's true, but her solution wasn't to confront terrorists. It was to police our words. And it didn't stop there. She also insisted that Americans stop using the term illegal alien. This while illegal immigration was surging, communities were overwhelmed, resources stretched thin, and children at risk. What was her solution? Change the language. Don't fix the problem, just redefine it. That's not leadership. That's denial.
Is Kamala speaking out not against radical Islamic terrorism and illegal immigration? No. Here she says we must have the courage to object to the terms radical Islamic terrorism and illegal aliens.
And we must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term illegal.
And if you think that was just one mistake, Think again. Fast forward to 2020, during the BLM riots. Cities were burning, businesses destroyed, and innocent people attacked. Did Kamala Harris stand with victims? Did she call for peace? No. She actively promoted the Minnesota Freedom Fund, the same group that bailed out violent criminals, rapists, and even accused murderers. And this isn't speculation. Her tweet is still up. She literally urged her followers to donate to a fund that helped put dangerous criminals back on the street. People who committed horrific crimes, stabbings, sexual assaults, shootings, walked free because Kamala Harris publicly supported that fund.
Didn't take long after Kamala Harris was installed as the Democrats' presidential candidate for the media to start rewriting her history. Apparently, she was never the border czar. She never had the most left-wing voting record in the Senate, and she was never considered a liability in the Biden administration. Those verifiable facts are all dismissed as right-wing conspiracies, as is the fact that she helped raise bail money for thugs during the BLM riots. Look at this headline claiming Trump falsely accuses Harris of donating to Minnesota Freedom Fund, bailing out dangerous criminals. Not only did Kamala do just that, her tweet is still up. Chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. She posted that at the height of the BLM.
And the media, they rushed to rewrite her history as soon as she became the Democratic nominee. Suddenly, we were told she was never the border czar, never the most left-wing senator, never a liability for Biden, and her ties to the Minnesota Freedom Fund brushed off as right-wing conspiracy. Really? Her own tweet says otherwise. Chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. She posted that during the height of the riots as, oh no, she wasn't set up to fail. She walked right into failure on her own.
What? That link is still active. You can still donate, and there is Kamala's smiling face on the donation page. And Trump's campaign is doing its best to prevent this bit of history being memory holed. This is among their most devastating ads.
Harris sending this out on X. If you're able to chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota.
Thanks to Harris's promotion, the group reportedly raised $35 million in just a few weeks.
Darnica Floyd, charged with second-degree murder for stabbing a friend to death. She got out of jail, too. A twice-convicted rapist, currently charged with kidnapping and sexual assault, and he walks out, too.
The Freedom Fund raked in donations when it was promoted by many, including now Vice President Kamala Harris.
Sean Michael Tillman shot and killed a passenger on a train platform after reportedly being released from jail 3 weeks prior.
And when people like Sarah Isker try to convince you that Harris was a victim of circumstance, don't fall for it. She wasn't a victim. She was the architect of her own downfall. Just look at her speaking style, if you can call it that. She's famous for rambling word salads that make no sense, awkward tangents, and that bizarre nervous cackle. Voters saw it too. Remember that clip where she rambled about her AirPods? First, she praised them. Then she randomly warned people not to use them on trains because someone might eavesdrop. Then came the awkward laugh. Imagine her trying to negotiate with world leaders. Instead of clarity and strength, you get confusion and nervous laughter. That's not leadership. It's embarrassing.
I mean, there's a lot of personal stuff in the book. I mean, poor Dougie.
You're blowing the lid off of Doug? What's going on?
For example, my birthday's in October. The election's in November. You see where I'm going?
Kamala, believe me when I say I have no idea what you're talking about or where you're going. And frankly, I don't think you do either. I think every sentence for Kamala is a bit of a mystery. She doesn't know exactly where she's going to end up or how she'll...
And it didn't stop there. Kamala even put out a cringeworthy ad to promote her book. She awkwardly pretended someone off camera was asking her questions, while she bragged about writing, meeting leaders, and thinking about America's future. It was supposed to be inspiring. Instead, it was secondhand embarrassment. This is what passes for Democratic leadership now. Photo ops, empty slogans, and stage moments. No solutions. No results.
I have been in classified briefings, and I'm telling you, like, don't be on the train using your ear pods and thinking somebody can't listen to your conversation. I'm just telling you, that's a little bit more secure.
Yes, she likes the ear pods with the thing and just the mad cackling. I've got to say, I have missed that mad cackling. I've missed the incoherent, meandering, pointless sentences.
So let's be crystal clear. Kamala Harris wasn't set up to fail. She failed because she had no business leading in the first place. She ignored real crises like the border, inflation, and crime. She supported criminals over victims. She pandered to activists instead of protecting Americans. And when she spoke, it was incoherent nonsense followed by a laugh. The American people saw it. They recognized it. And they rejected it. Not because of the DNC, not because she didn't get enough time, but because they understood the stakes. So when people like Sarah Isgase Harris were set up, remember the facts, the word games on terrorism and immigration, the criminal bailed out because of her, the awkward, incoherent speeches, the stage, book promo, the failures as vice president. She wasn't set up to fail. She failed on her own. And here's a bigger point. Kamala Harris doesn't just represent her own failures. She represents a collapse of the entire woke agenda. The obsession with identity politics. The prioritizing of ideology over reality. That's what voters rejected when they rejected her. Because at the end of the day, America deserves better than Kamala Harris. Better than hollow slogans. Better than reckless policies. Better than incoherent word salads. And thankfully, voters made that clear. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Kamala Harris was really set up to fail? Or was this just another excuse from the left? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can see through the spin. Because the truth is simple, Kamala Harris didn't need help failing. She did it all on her own.